Hey everyone, good morning. Today we'll be covering custom metadata, but before we do that, we will have to answer one question: the difference between get instance versus get values method in custom setting. Okay, custom settings methods in Salesforce. Okay, so there are few methods in custom settings, and okay. So there are three methods basically: get all, get instance, and get values. But when we check the behavior of get instance and get value, they are pretty much similar. Okay. And in the hierarchical custom settings as well, we have get instance and then get instance user ID, profile ID. Same goes for get values as well. So when the behavior is same for get values versus get instance, why we have two separate methods? So see, for the list custom setting, the behavior is same and they will return the same exact thing. Okay. And we can use any of that. Okay. But the behavior is a bit different in the hierarchical custom setting. Hierarchical custom settings, if we check, we have created one yesterday. Okay. So we will take that as an example. Discounting model. I already have anonymous block code for that, but we will do it again. Okay, so when you get this question in an interview, you will say that for list custom setting, they both will return the same value, but for hierarchical custom setting, the behavior is a bit different. And what is the difference that we are going to find out? Okay, so discounting model based on get instance method. Okay. Get instance. I will pass a user ID here. Okay. And then we will debug it. Okay, now let me find the user. So for my user, what I have said is that on the org level, I'll have 10% discount given capacity. On profile level, I have 20%. And then on the user level, my user has capacity to provide 30% discount. But this is the case with my user only. If I take dummy user 2 for reference, he neither have any capacity on profile nor he has any capacity on user. He only have capacity on org level, which is default for every user in the org. So if I copy his user ID and try to debug this, so what we are trying to get is we are trying to get the instance based on the user ID. Okay, what we are using here is this one, get instance and then passing the user ID. What we should get in return is whatever we have defined for user, but we have not defined anything for his user, right? So we are going to see what we will get in the debug log. Sorry, what is it saying? Okay. So we will see what we are going to get here. So you can see here, because there is nothing in the user level settings, and then he will, if there is nothing in the user level setting, if we use get instance method, then it will go on top and we'll try to check what is there in the profile level. If there is nothing in the profile level, then it will go on top and we'll check the org default level as well. So even if we just ask for user level, there was nothing on user level. So it went up and tried to get the value wherever it was able to found and it provided. Okay. So this is the behavior of get instance. Now we will do the same thing, but this time with get values. Okay, so we will change it with values. Here we will change it to, remember, it is values, not value. Okay. So what we are doing is we are using this method, passing the user ID and trying to get what we have specified on this particular user's ID's custom setting. Okay. And we know that we have not defined anything for this particular user. So the only difference we want to check here is that whether it will go up and try to find out if anything is available in the upper hierarchy or not. Okay. So let's execute this. And you will get null. So what get values does is that if you have defined user ID, it will only search user ID. If there is something, it will be able to give you. If there is nothing, then it will not go up and try to find out the available value. So it will provide null. That is the difference between get values and get instance. Anybody has any doubt in this? See, even if you go through the couple of blogs on Google, you will always get confused with this because no one demonstrate this practically. Uh, although it also, see, I got confused by reading blogs, so that is why I thought to just do the demo on it. But you can see what, and you can also try this thing practically. That's what I prefer doing. Okay, now custom settings. See, custom settings are so flexible. Custom settings gives us so much advantages. Then why the need of custom metadata? Okay, there are certain limitations associated with custom settings. Okay, number one, custom settings. We only have, see, we only have limited custom objects to create. Okay, and custom setting. Okay, and custom settings, whichever custom settings we create, that custom setting gets counted towards the total number of limit you have on total number of custom objects you can create. So that is a major drawback. Okay, that is like even if you create custom setting, you will be consuming one limit for the custom objects you have in your org. That is the major limit. Okay. Now, custom settings, if you use as SOQL query in the custom settings, that will be counted towards the total number of SOQL query you have in a particular transaction. Although you have methods by which you can get whatever you want, but if you prefer to use SOQL query, then that will also be counted towards the total number of SOQL query you have in a transaction. You can only create, I think, around 300 fields in a custom setting, not more than that. I think that is also a limitation. Okay. And again, major limitation is that we have limited data type. We do not have pick list, long text area. We cannot have lookups as well. We cannot have validation rules. We cannot have page layouts in custom settings. So now, because of these limitations, only Salesforce has two options. Either they uh, kind of improve these custom settings, or they create a separate functionality altogether. So then they come up with the custom metadata. Okay. Custom metadata was intended to cover up all the limitations we have in the custom settings. Okay. And when I say custom settings are better than custom metadata are better than custom setting, I'm only talking about the list custom setting. Okay. Not the hierarchical. Okay, so then Salesforce came up with the custom metadata. Custom metadata is a bit advanced in terms of functionality. Whatever we used to do with the list custom settings, we can do with custom metadata with additional features. Okay. So first we will verify if we query a custom setting, does it get counted towards the total number of socle we have or not? Okay, because I don't want you just to know it works. You have to see that happening. Okay, so I'm going to list the query the custom setting, the list one. Okay, you can also query hierarchical one as well. Custom code mapping. Okay, now select. Okay, and then just a simple debug system dot debug. And let's execute this. How will we check? We will check the debug log. And if you see here, total number of SQL queries we did was 1 out of 100. So this gets counted towards what we are going to query, and obviously result will also be counted. So result also gets counted in the custom metadata as well. But in the custom metadata, if you do the similar query, this will still be 0. So in SQL query, in custom metadata, if you do SQL query, you have unlimited SQL query limit. Whatever SQL query you did on custom metadata will not be counted towards the total number of SQL we have in a particular transaction. So that is the major advantage as well. We as a developer prefer to have SQL query and then loop over all such thing. There are methods as well available in the custom metadata, and we will check that as well. Okay, so what do we know till now? Custom settings has couple of limitations which we discussed, and that because of that, Salesforce came up with the custom metadata. Okay, now we will talk about custom metadata. Okay, so for that, let us first create a custom metadata. Same country code mapping we will create, and we will see how it works. Okay. So simply you will go to setup, type the custom metadata or metadata, and you will be able to get this. Okay. Now here you can name it anything. Cus, sorry, country code mapping. All right. So the thing to remember here is that it has underscore MDT, which says that metadata type. Okay. That's the difference between custom settings and custom metadata. Custom settings are treated more like a custom object where Salesforce has given it as a separate annotation of underscore MDT. The other difference you can see here is that you have validation rules as well as page layouts in it. Okay, so you can have validation rule in the custom metadata, and obviously you can have the page layout, but you cannot have tab. Okay, so sometimes we get this question in an interview that Salesforce custom settings do not have tab, but do we get to create tabs for custom metadata? No, for custom metadata as well, we do not get to create tab. Okay, now if we create new field, sorry, if we create new fields in it, you will see a couple of additions here. First one is metadata relationship. It is not, you cannot relate a metadata with a custom object. Okay, so you can only associate a metadata with another metadata. So that is why it is called the metadata relationship. This is just like lookup relationship, but you will not be able to look it up to any other custom object. Instead, you will only be able to look up to another metadata. Okay. Now you can see pick list here. Pick list here is available. Text area long is available. So these are a couple of additions over what we had in the custom settings. Okay, and you will be able to get the complete list if you try to find out. What we want to create is the text. Sorry, country name. And again, text. Country code. Any limitations we have creating custom see custom settings, you have limitations like whichever limit you have for custom objects. So let's say you can have only 500 custom objects in your org, then whatever custom setting you create will also get added on that limit itself. So if you have 100 custom objects, then you only have 400 left in the limits, and then you create custom settings carefully. Okay, because if you create one, then you will have total custom number of custom objects in your will be 101. Hi Mohit, I have a question related to custom settings that I read in one blog time ago where they said that custom settings, whenever we call DML query, it will always available in application cache. It just create the instance and retrieve it has. So yes, see what happens is that in the custom settings, and the same is the case with custom metadata as well. The memory, they are stored in the application cache as well. Okay, so when you fetch them via the instance methods available like get instance, get values, then they will get the value from the cache memory, not directly from the query. But if you write the sockle query, then that will directly fetch from the database. They will not be fetched from the cache. So that is why we prefer to use the given methods instead of doing the queries. Okay. Yeah. So sometimes you get this in an interview question. A good interviewer may ask you that why we have so-called query as well as methods. Like if we have query, why will I use method? I'll prefer to have a query, right? For that, I need not to remember even the method name. So that is true. But the problem is that the performance, if we fetch the query from the database, obviously it will take more time versus if we fetch it from the methods, it's stored in the cache memory and it will be faster. So for a system's performance, it's better to use the methods because retrieval will be fast. Okay. Yeah, query will obviously fetch the no, even from the cache also you will get the real-time data. If that is stored, then you will get from cache. If it is not available there, then cache memory will fetch it from database and will provide you. And every time data gets changed in the backend, cache gets notification on that. And whenever somebody requests that data, then at that time cache, if that data was updated, then it will fetch from the database and then will send you. It will not send you the previous data or something. Cache memory is smart enough to do that. It's just that sometimes when it is not available in the cache, then it will have to fetch it from the database and will give you. Okay. So if something is achievable or feasible by the methods, then obviously go for it and do that rather than doing the direct query. And in the in the custom metadata, you will see that most of these things we do as SQL query because we do not think much about performance, like it's minute of milliseconds kind of thing. So that is fine unless we have huge chunk of data. Okay, then these things starts bothering, like why it is taking much time to load the page, why it is taking much time to process something. That these kind of problem only happens when you have huge chunk of data. In the beginning it will not make any difference even you fetch it from query or fetch it from the methods. Okay, but you should know the difference between them. Hmm. Okay, maybe you can share the blog with everyone else as well. We will also have a look. Okay, we created custom country and we did create the custom code as well. Let's say why we create a phone prefix as well. And then we create a discount. We have percentage. I'm just giving you an example by how we can have one custom metadata to do multiple things. Save it. Now, what we did is we have customer country name, country code, discount percentage, and phone prefix. Assume that these are the fields available in the account object, and you will have to update them whenever a new account gets created. Okay, what you will get from system is just the country code. Okay, so country code is something which will be entered by the user, and then on the account object you have all these fields: country name, discount percentage, and phone prefix. But you will have to fill data on it based on the table available here. That is the whole purpose of it. So in the code you will get this custom metadata, and then based on the country code you will be able to find country name, discount percentage, and phone prefix available with that country code, and then you will update that account from the value stored in this field associated with that particular country. So that's how we will use a custom metadata to update the actual account without having the hard coding logic on your code. Otherwise, if this is not there, then you will code it hard code it like this: if country is this, then country name should be this, discount percentage should be this, and phone prefix should be this. Else, if country is this, then country name should be this, phone percentage is this, phone prefix should be this. And this will be a hard coded line of bad code. And in future, if you have to change it, then also you will have to go to your Apex class and change the logic, or go to your Apex trigger and change the logic. That will be a very bad, not manageable approach. Better is that we store the table in metadata, and we can use this metadata to update the value on that object. And not only that object, if we'll have to repeat the same functionality in some other objects as well, that can also be done here. Okay, so this basically, again, the purpose is same. It will be used to have a logic outside of your code, have a remote button outside of your code to control your code, control the behavior of your code, so that in future, if anything changes in the execution logic, you need not to go to the Apex code to change that. You can go to the metadata and change that. Okay. So this is the custom metadata. Let's go to developer console and let us first create a couple of records in it, right? So let's create a new record. Label is country one. Okay, country name is India. Country code is IN. Phone prefix is +91. Discount percentage is 10. Okay. All right, I'll clone it. This will be country two. Country two. What shall I name it? US. What is the phone prefix, guys? Whatever. That's the one that I'm going to give. So we have created two records, country one and country two, and have provided values for this. Okay. Now we will go to the developer console and we will see how we're gonna get them. First is we will do the socle query and we'll see if that query gets counted against the total number of sockles we have. Okay. That will do a major confirmation for us. Okay. Country code. Okay, okay, I have did one. We could have used that. Country code mapping version 2. Now let's query this. Select ID from country code mapping and get a couple of fields here by copying them. Country code. That's it. Query this, okay? All right, let's execute this. First, if you see, number of Sockle queries is still zero. Even though we did a query, we got the result of the query, number of Sockle queries is still zero. So that proves the point that we get unlimited Sockle query with custom metadata, and the query we do in the custom metadata, the query we do to get the custom metadata data will not get counted against the total number of queries we have in the transaction. That is the major advantage. You will still be, yeah, I mean, the records you get as a return will still get counted towards the total 50,000 rows you get in a per transaction. Okay, so you need to remember that even though you get unlimited circle queries, you have to be mindful of this as well. Okay. Now, if we click on debug only, we will get the country code mapping list, ID, code, country name, then ID, code, country name. Okay, so we are able to get the data in a query. Most of the time, what we do is we just get the all. Okay, so what it does is that it will give us the map. It returns a map of, let's check, a string versus a string on the key side, which will be the label of it, and then on the value side you will get the object itself. Okay, so let us query that. So we will have a map which will have a string on key side and object on the value side, and we will call it country code map. Okay, and here metadata dot get all. I hope I'm writing it correct. Let us check it. Okay. See guys, I make a lot of mistakes in code, and I find it very natural. So don't get afraid of creating mistakes in your code. That is completely okay. We only learn from our mistakes. Okay. So don't worry about someone judging you when you are making a mistakes in your code. That is a learning process. Okay. Let's execute this. And we have got the map. Country one on the key side, and on the value side you will get the, so this country one is what? This country one is the, this country one is the country code mapping name. This is the key. Okay. So this is the key, and these are the value in that key. Okay. Till here. And then country two, and then those values. Okay. If we just use the values, if you only want to get the, and then we will, what it is saying, to iterate over the list of custom metadata type record, use get all dot value. You will only get just the list of it. Okay. Okay. Only the first 255 characters are returned for any field in a custom metadata type record. So longer text field get truncated. If you want all the fields data from custom metadata type record, use a SOQL query. Okay. So not very much helpful. Okay. But we can check that. It will give us the list, right? So let us check that. Values. Let's debug this. So you will get the list of country code mapping data. Okay. But always prefer to use SQL query here because the line it writes here like only the first 255 characters are written. So longer text fields get truncated, and if you have to use those field value, then obviously it will not be an ideal way to do it. Use the SQL query to do that instead. Okay. All right. Now let's check couple of other methods. Get record ID. Okay. So okay, this we just use this method to explicitly retrieve custom metadata type information at user level. Only the first order fields are returned for get the record ID. Let's check that. Okay. So it just get the one record. Okay. So we will have, let me copy the ID first. And later on we will do. Let's call it country one record. Get, is it get instance? Just a second. Get instance and then pass the record ID. Okay. So get instance and then pass the record ID. Okay, let's try to execute this. Okay, we have got the record of country one. Okay, so we do not have much data. That is why it is able to fetch almost everything. But the same limit applies here is that it will only fetch the 255 characters and then other things will get truncated. So prefer to use SQL query. That is why in the custom metadata, we always use SQL query because we get all the data. The last thing you want is that you want to get some data and want to perform some logic based on that, and you're not getting the full data, right? So avoid that thing. All right, that is fine. Now, what is this? Get developer name. Let's see what it is. Returns a single custom metadata type record as object for specified developer name field. Okay. Yeah. So I think it is just this field, custom code mapping name, but we will check that. Okay. If you check the custom metadata, this is the developer name. Okay. The custom metadata record name is the developer name, not the label. Okay. So when we check the record, country one record, this is the label and this is the developer name. Okay. So we can also fetch it based on that. This is basically just the name. You can call it as name and use this. So let's try this as well. Let me copy this. Let's record, right? No, same is get instance name, but we pass as a, just a second, developer name. Yeah, so record name, I mean, method remains same. It's just that we have to pass the different value. Okay. And I never, remember these things. I never try to learn these things. It's just that everything is already available. So there is no point of trying to remember everything, because try to remember the things which are not easily available rather than the things which are easily available. Okay. And here you will get the record. Okay. Same record which you were trying to get. And then qualified API name. What is it? Use this method to return a single customer data record for a specified qualified API name. API name is concatenation of namespace prefix and developer name. So we do not have any namespace prefix. We just have a developer name. So that will be same. So if that typically will be same as what we have here in the developer name. Okay. So that sums up what we have in custom metadata. Try to run these things on your own developer console. Try to see what are the question you have on this and try to practically create the scenarios for those questions. Okay, that will be a better approach to learn this. Now, once we practically do all these things, the only question left in this topic is what is the difference between custom metadata and custom settings, which one to choose over what and why. Okay, that is the question we normally get in interviews, along with practical scenarios on which you have worked on custom settings and custom metadata. So practical scenarios you can tell from here. Okay, if you have not already worked on them on your current project, then you can use country code mapping for list custom settings and custom metadata, and you can use discounting model for hierarchical custom setting. Now, coming to the differences, there are many differences in terms of what in terms of list custom setting versus custom metadata. Okay, hierarchical custom setting is separate, so you'll have to tell him that hierarchical custom setting is something unique, and it provides us the functionality to define things on org level as well as on the profile and user level. So that's a separate thing. Whenever we talk about the differences between custom settings and metadata, this is always list custom settings versus custom metadata. Now, in the list custom settings, you have limited data type. In the custom metadata, you have couple of additional meta types, additional data types. Okay. The SOQL queries you do on custom settings will get counted towards the total SOQL limit in a transaction. In custom metadata, it is not counted. Okay. And you cannot have validation rules and page layouts in custom setting, but you can have those things in the custom metadata. Okay. What else? Come on, guys. Tell me. Custom.
Deployment.
Yeah, yeah, that is a major difference. We can deploy the records of custom metadata via chain set, but we cannot do the same thing with the custom setting. So we can only move the only move the fields and the custom settings, but the records which you have created in custom setting cannot be deployed via chain set or metadata via chain sets or any other tool. So what you have to do is that you have to export that data and then you'll have to recreate that data in the target org. But custom metadata, you can even deploy the records as well. Okay. So that's a huge advantage. That's a huge advantage we have in the custom metadata. How to import bulk data? How to import bulk data is we normally use data loader to import some data in our org. There are a couple of tools available as well, but we most of the time can do this with the data loader as well. And there was a question related to test classes. So what it says is that if you have to get some data from the custom settings, you will have to use the see all data equals to true. And if you want to see some data from custom metadata, you might not need to set the see all data is equals to true, but that is something I'll have to verify still. I did not verify that, so don't write it down anywhere. I'll verify it when we cover the test classes, and then I will confirm it to you guys. Okay. Metadata does not come in data. Yeah, so for metadata, we use additional tool called the it's an extension, I think, custom metadata loader, something like that, and that tool helps us to do the deployment. I have not worked on Copado, so I cannot comment on that. By default, Salesforce does not give us. So whenever we say we cannot deploy the records of custom data, do also mention the we cannot deploy the records of custom settings via chain set. Okay, so that is within Salesforce you're talking about. Okay. Yep, obviously it is not allowed in all client org, and it also depends on the data size we have. If we have huge data size and they are not allowing us to use any additional tool, then you will have to come up with a solution with them, because manually creation is not possible. So you'll have to come up with a tool. See, there are tools available around for us to use and to do these things. You will have to just convince your client. Okay.
Sir, and one thing till that we control the execution of the process by metadata, custom metadata. How
Sorry, what? Can you come again?
how we can control the execution of the process? Say
Oh,
like trigger
hmm. Okay.
by
I
metadata.
okay, I told you that, right? So consider this country code mapping itself. Okay, you have a requirement every time you have couple of fields on your account. Okay, country name, country code, discount percentage, and phone prefix. Okay, these are the four fields on your account. Okay, now whenever a new account gets created from UI, you only provide the country code or just the country name. Okay, and based on that country name, you will have to make sure that you fill the value of other fields as well. Okay, now if country code is country name is, let's say, India, then country code should be IN, discount should be 10%, and phone prefix should be +91. This you can do with the dependent pick list, right? You will create a dependent pick list where country name will be the controlling field, and you can have several dependent field as well, right? But that logic will only work in the that particular object, plus you will have to manually implement it. It will not automatically populate. So if you do it with the dependent pick list, then if country name selected is India, then user has to go to country code field, and then only option will be there as a IN, and he can choose that. And so same goes for discount. He'll have 0.10% discount. Same goes for the phone prefix as well. So, but you have to do it manually. Now, when you have to automate it, you can do it like this. You can go to trigger and you can check if country name is India, then country code should be IN, phone prefix should be +91, and percentage should be 10%. You can put this code in the trigger, okay, and it will work perfectly fine till the time you have limited countries. Now you have to implement this functionality for 300 countries. So obviously in trigger, you will not be able to do that. Obviously, if you'll do it, you will have so many if else or cases statement. If country is this, then do this. If country is this, then do this. And your code will look very bad. Okay. So other approach will be to have this table stored somewhere else, which will tell you if country name is IN, then how much percentage will be for the discount percentage. That data is already stored in this metadata table. You will have to just get it, get the metadata table, and just confirm it if that meta table contains the country name. And if yes, then populate the value of account dot percentage from the metadata. That's it. So you will have all the calculations happen automatically. You will not need to statically put it there. Plus, let's say in future, currently for India, it is 10%. In future, if it gets increase, or if let's say for festival, you increase the percentage to 15%. So in that case, You need not to go to your Apex class and change the logic. Only you will go to custom metadata, and for India country, you will change the discount percentage to 15%. And your code will now calculate 15% instead of 10%. So you had the trigger, you had the logic outside of your code, or you have something, a table outside of your code, which is controlling the behavior, which is controlling how much percentage you will give per country. So that is the advantage of it. Okay. And think about large data set. Like, let's say if you have 300 countries, it will practically be impossible to go to code and make changes on it. Okay. Because your code will look really bad, and every organization do not prefer to make changes on their code frequently. Okay. So this gives them functionality to control the behavior of your code by having metadata table, which your code is dependent on the value from the metadata table. So if your value changes, your change will only be happening on the metadata rather than your trigger or Apex classes itself. That is a huge function, flexibility in terms of how you can control these things. Okay, even admin can go to. So let's say as a developer, you are a contractor, you developed this code, created the metadata table, and deployed it to clients. Or now clients need not to hire a developer. If anything changes in their discounting model, all they need to tell admin is to go to their custom metadata table, update the values accordingly, and code logic will change accordingly without touching the code. The behavior of that code will change. So that is a huge functionality. And it does not require a developer in order to change it in future, so which is also an added advantage. Okay, I hope that is clear now, Sonal.
Yes, I have to do it by myself.
Yep, 100%. See, whatever I'm saying now, build it on account object. Build it on account object, and then everything will be clear. And if you are not able to build, then obviously I'm here to do that for you guys. Okay. And to
Sure, sure, sure.
so don't
Thanks.
worry about anything. Perfect. All right, guys. I think that's pretty much I wanted to cover today. So differences is something which is very important, and go through that differences again. There are multiple blogs available. I will also write it down in my notes to give you. I have to create notes for restriction rules and scoping rule as well, but I am not getting much time. So last night also was very hectic. We the same issue happened again. I will talk about that later. So that's pretty much. I am going to stop the recording for now, so that we'll have a separate